Okay, today we're going to do a very quick version of marketing. And the reason I'm going to do that so fast is because we already have this PowerPoint on our LBA website. So if you were signed up for LBA, which you should be able to access this pretty easy, right? So share my screen. Let me do a couple of things here. Back out of that. So from the LBA website homepage, if you just hit resources, go down to media center, it'll take a second. Then you go into making the sale. What's nice is right after pages 1 through 4, which we just went over the last few weeks, mine was last week when I got my tooth pulled. Marketing strategies. It's right there, right? I've already downloaded it, but you can download that PowerPoint and take a look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that up, and then I'm going to share with you the actual PowerPoint. So this time of year is not open enrollment, but there are a lot of categories of people that you can reach, right? And so the marketing strategies don't really change. And I'll put that in a nutshell in saying that you need to be focusing on building relationships, right? So you can go to senior centers, you can go to 55 and older communities, you can go to churches and libraries and IMVETs and basically anywhere that you're going to find a senior population. But you can also go into low income areas because a lot of people in those areas will have Medicare because they have injuries or something that puts them on Medicare. You can do events, you can do Medicare 101s, you can say, hey, I'm here to answer questions. You can do all kinds of stuff, right? You can put flyers inside of doctor's offices, urgent care centers, ERs. You can volunteer. That's a very good way to get your face recognized as a person who helps, not just with their insurance, but as a part of the community. You can blast stuff out in your social media. Just make sure it's CMS compliant. So be very vague and never say anything like always, best, or that you represent Medicare directly, right? And if you have questions about that, you can always shoot me a text or give me a call and I can answer those questions for you. So that's pretty much the gist of this page. And again, apologies for going so fast through this, but we're going to focus on other stuff today. Other activities you can do, you can go out to the flea market, rent a booth. I had somebody ask me that question a couple weeks ago. That is a great idea, right? Because you can go ahead and display all of your materials out there and you can sign people up because it's a registered event. You can work with your area managers for the different companies and you can do educational events, or if they're hosting it, it's most likely a marketing event where they're trying to sell their specific products. So you can do either or this time of year as well. And you'll be focused mostly on aging ins, people who are turning 65. And you can do meet and greets, right? So there are a lot of facilities that are, let's say, networked together, right? Physician groups. And so you can do meet and greets with them. You can have an incoming call center. We got one agent who uses dialers from the Philippines to circle people right to her phone line. And you can do mailers, right? A lot of companies will help you with marketing costs when it comes to that. They'll do a 50-50 split or they'll pay for the whole thing or what have you, right? So there's lots and lots of ways to get your name out there, get your face out there, get people to know that you help them with Medicare, right? some suggestions I would have is get some materials, some giveaway items from the carriers, right? Every carrier, Humana, United, Aetna, Cigna, you name it, they have freebies to give away, right? And every senior loves freebies, right? Even or especially if it's something like a pill case or bandages, or sometimes even just a stress ball, right? So all of the carriers have items like that that they can give you. You just need to ask them for it. So that's a suggestion I would have, especially if you have a booth, like at a flea market, right? Hey, go ahead and take one of those. Those are free, right? Um, Build relationships with the people that are in these places, right? The 55 and older community places, because that's how you're going to get a steady stream of people coming to you, right? People who are just turning 65, people who have insurance problems, questions, etc., right? If you become like your local expert, and the places that you are going to do these activities at recognize that, they are going to send people to you. I speak out of my own experience, right? So focus on making relationships with any and every place that you know that will have 55 and 65 and older in their community, and really 55 and older, because even the 55 and olders will someday turn 65 and have Medicare, or they may have Medicare early because of a disability. So make relationships, right? Um, you could do all kinds of activities, especially with places like senior centers. I've done pool tournaments. I host bingo games for them. Um, when we get in toward Christmas, you could do the toy drive and help with that, or just distribute the toys, and work in food pantries, right? Now, I know all that is all kind of like volunteer work. And guess what? To be really, really effective in the Medicare industry, it doesn't hurt to volunteer some of your time, because it will reap rewards, right? People like working with people that are not just in it for the money. So I won't push too hard on that, but I will say that those are all the great suggestions that I have for those for marketing for right now. Now, to close out this part of what we're doing today, there are three main groups of people that you're looking to market to. There's your people who are turning 65, right? So again, same website, just in the flyers area. There are flyers that are turning 65 already made, right? And I made them so that you can put your business card right at the bottom of it, right? So easy peasy. Make copies of that, and then you can distribute those to all the places that we just talked about. And if I went too fast for you, you can just go back into the website and download this PowerPoint. So I know I'm going really fast, but that's purposeful so that we can get into the question section of today. So turning 65, the second demographic of people that you'll be looking at will be what they call DSNPs, the dual eligible, people who are qualified for Medicare and Medicaid as well. So you'll find that a lot of people have Medicare and they have Medicaid, and they just keep it that way because they don't have any copays, but they're missing out on a plethora of benefits, right? So you'll be searching for people like that. And again, these marketing strategies will help you to get to those people. And then the third demographic of people that you're looking for at this point would be people that have chronic conditions that will fit inside of the chronic plans that you have available in your area. So the best way that I would tell you to do that is either go to Medicare.gov or to go onto Sunfire and search just the chronic plans, right? That way you can see if they're just for diabetes, or if there are heart conditions, or if they have 15 different ones, right? And that way you can look for people who, when you're talking with them, meet those criteria, and you won't have any issues beyond that. Now, there are some areas like Florida, for example, they have an SEP that goes all the way till August, right? So that means you can help anybody all the way till August. Not everybody is as fortunate as people who write business in Florida, but look look inside of CMS.gov. There are areas that tell you where the special election period for disasters are, right? That gives you kind of like an open window for anybody to be able to be helped. So I guess there's technically four um, demographics, but that's the fourth one is kind of area dependent when you look at it, right? So um, that's marketing, right? That's my very, very, very short version of marketing. I have realized over the last few weeks that we have had lots and lots of people that are newer um, join these calls. And so I wanted to take most of today's call, which would be the next 45 minutes, and just open it up for questions. And they could be questions on whatever it is. If you're brand new and you don't know where to look for something, that's not a bad question to ask now, right? If you've been around like Ronnie and Bridget for a while and you're like, hey, I got a guy who's got ESRD and I don't know what to do with him. What do I do? You can ask that question, right? So I'll start with Bridget's question that she added to my text messages yesterday. She says, I have a client that I'm meeting with that has ESRD and has applied for Medicare earlier than 65. Done some of her own research, but wants to know that my advice for this type of client. So, ESRD is one of those really weird things, right? When somebody first joins Medicare and they have an effective date of um, within 3 months, then they can join into any plan. The ESRD thing doesn't really apply, okay? Some areas have plans that are specifically built for ESRD, so that's an option. What would I do? I would do a very heavy version of page 2, which for those of you that are newer, page 2 is where we break down the client's usage over the last year. And if they said something like, well, one of the concerns I have is that I was just diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, which is ESRD, right? I would say, okay, well, let's take a pause for a second. Let's talk about that a little bit more in depth, right? First of all, I need to see your Medicare card if I haven't already done that, right? And I want to check to see when they became eligible for their Medicare to see if I can help them immediately, right? If they're within 3 months, we're good. We continue on, right? If they're outside of 3 months, then we've got some things to talk about. But we'll assume right now that they're within 3 months. So then I'm going to ask them more about their usage. So do you go to a facility for your treatments? Do you have an IV that is taken care of at the house? I mean, tell me a little bit more about your treatment so that I can best help you, right? That's really how I would deal with the ESRD. And then dependent on whether or not I could help them immediately or not, if I can't help them within that 3-month window and they're under 65, well, when they do turn 65, then I can help them again, right? That's an automatic 3-month, well, 6, 7-month window that I could do something with them. Um, what's nice about both windows, right? The first time that they get their Medicare card, if they're under 65, and the 7-month window um, that they turn 65, that's a good time to kind of really dig into that page two and find out what pathway that they're going to feel most comfortable with. If they are ESRD, they already know that their life expectancy is not going to be very, very long, right? And they're probably, not always, but probably going to need some increased treatment um, coming up, whether it be short term or long term. So you have to stay very unbiased with that client, especially because if they want to go on a Medicare supplement, they're a guaranteed issue, right? During those time periods. If they're outside of those windows, then the only uh, thing that I could tell you is you might want to look to see if there is an ESRD specific product in your area. Um, and if you have questions about that, you might need to call Gabriel because I know Gabriel was looking into one of those. I just don't know what areas of the country that covers. So, Bridget, does that answer your question, or do you need more?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of, I've looked at everything on Medicare.gov. I've done all it seems like it is also very specific to them. It seems like, because he was at a job, he's now applied for disability, doesn't get Social Security until December, October, but yet his Medicare supposedly is active now. He hasn't gotten his card yet, but they said it's active. But I guess it's retro to the dialysis. The coverage for dialysis is retroactive, but it depends on if you had an employer, and that's 3 months. So it just seems like there's just so much convolution. Where do you get? I mean, do you call Medicare.gov and get specific? Except for I know it's in talking to a person sometimes is better than looking at the mumbo jumbo that they provide. And I don't know, will they be able to help me fine tune what he is going to uh be getting from Original Medicare?
Um, as far as dates, or what do
Well,
you
it's
mean?
dates and coverage. I mean, because it seems like Original Medicare, I guess he goes to dialysis 3 times a week, and then he
Okay.
goes. He also has been done. He's been doing this for like 19 months. And according to what I've researched, it does go retro. For 4 months, I think after he started the company covers the first 3 months, and then after 4 months, Medicare will go retroactive and cover it. So I don't know how that.
So if they're saying that he is active, what you can do is call with the client and have the client call 1-800 Medicare, right? Um, the client just needs to ask when their Part B became active, and that will tell you your 3-month window, right? Anytime within 90 days after that date, they can sign up for anything. Um, Medicare supplement works a little bit differently. So if they want to go supplement, then he has, I believe it's an additional 3 months. So you should have 6 month total from that date to be able to go into MedSup as a guaranteed issue. And that shouldn't affect his rates, right? Because he's guaranteed issue. As far as what will he get? Well, if you go back to page one, dialysis is a Part B service, so they're going to get the deductible that they have to pay, the 226 or whatever it is, and then 20% for every visit. So I'm not sure what those visit fees are, but I'm going to imagine they're no less than $40 a visit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're and 3 times a week, that's $120 a week. That's probably a med sup person, as long as he's guaranteed issue, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
So I would probably explain that to them. I would look at a G or an N
Right.
and go from there, because if they go G or N, then they're good. They don't have any, besides their monthly premium, on the medical side, they don't have any other costs, right? It's taken care of. So that would be my suggestion for this situation, is to probably maybe not be biased, but understand where their cost is, because at that point they're becoming a specialist, right? And they will know, because if their Medicare is already active, I'm sure they're already paying what the Medicare 20% is by this point.
Well, no, they just started. He just got approved. So, I mean, it's taken him months to get through the system, I guess.
Gotcha.
So he just became approved, and I guess he called and they mailed his card. It should have gotten in the mail today, but you know,
Gotcha.
I just don't,
Um,
I know if we put him in I know from my reading that putting him into a supplement that is, a lot of people will say just put him in an advantage because this is zero copay, but then then he goes, well, I know that I will have only X amount of dollars after I max out. And that's what but he doesn't understand. And I did the page one, and
right.
he's not quite understanding, that he doesn't have any cost after if he pays the other. So, just weighing those two outlets,
Right.
like you say, page two. So,
Well, so page 2 and page 3, the reason I put those on the same page is because on page 3, what we're doing, if you're doing it correctly, the biggest thing that they should take away from that is two things. One is Medicare Advantage generally is going to be a lot less expensive than anything else. And the second thing that they should get from it is the maximum out of pocket and how it works, right? So on that third year, when I say maximum out of pocket, $6,700, right? Clearly it'll be different based on plans, but if you can find a plan, it's less than what a Medicare supplement would be, then you can say something like, you see on this plan here, the maximum out of pocket is the maximum you would pay, and then the plan takes 100% responsibility for your medical issues. So instead of having copays, once you have paid this much amount of money out of your own pocket, then the plan picks up everything else for the rest of the year. Medicare is going to work the same way. You're going to have your deductible, then you're going to pay 20% for the rest of the year, and then you start over on January 1st, right? And you'll do the same thing. But if you're going 3 times a week, and we see that 120 times 365, or even just 360, right? Let's say you take a couple weeks off, right? That's going to be much more than whatever this maximum out of pocket is, right? But what I would tell you is this: if you're going to put a person with ESRD on a Medicare Advantage plan, I would look very seriously at the PPOs instead of the HMOs, because that gives them freedom for the doctor to be able to send them wherever they need to. Okay. All righty. One question knocked out. So what other questions do we have? This is the point of this call, is to give you just a brief snapshot of marketing, which we already did, and then open it up for questions. So anybody who has questions really about anything, please go ahead and ask them now.
I do. How are you, Carl?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. My question is, I hope I put my question right because I tried to understand it myself. I have a person who has Medicare, but they don't have Medicaid. And she wanted to know how she can get Medicaid. She only has Medicare. but she's not in my state. She's in another state. Is it possible for her to also get both?
Well, Medicaid is completely income-based,
Okay.
right? And if you go to the website, the LBA website, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you go into our website, right, to the resources, media center, under making the sale,
Yes.
you see how it's got all these states here? These are all the states that offer Medicaid. So what state is she in?
She's in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. So I download that, open that up. So you see how this talks about financial stuff, Medicaid, support low income, how to apply. It tells you how to apply, who's eligible, tells you the income limits.
Okay.
So you can just download this form. And this is true for all the different states, right? They're all a little bit different, but it'll tell you what the criteria is to join, right?
Okay.
To get Medicaid, how to apply, all the things that you need to be able to help that client, right? So if that is something that they're eligible for, then you can walk them through how to get their Medicaid. And then once they get their Medicaid, they'll have a special election period, and you can write them that very next month.
Okay. So, and if they're not eligible for Medicaid and they don't have Medicare Advantage, that is something that they can buy. Am I right? Are they?
I do that weird look because Medicare Advantage is not necessarily something you buy.
Okay.
So let's talk about terminology for a second, right? There are Medicare supplements. As a matter of fact, let me do this. So if we're here, right,
Mhm.
Medicare supplements are products that people buy. You
Okay.
can look at those kind of like they're life insurance products because really they act more like life insurance than they do health insurance when it comes to Medicare because they are available all year long. You don't need special election periods for them. They're specific to their medical needs. Okay, they don't cover drugs. They they're something that the client can purchase. When you
Okay.
talk about Medicare Advantage, what you're doing is you're taking this and you're transferring it over to a Medicare Advantage plan over here.
Okay.
Okay. So they're not necessarily buying something. Sometimes there is a premium monthly for some of the benefits, but they're not necessarily buying it. They're reassigning their benefits to a private insurance company.
Got you.
So the way you phrased your question kind of made me think for a second, how do I answer that, right? Now, for Medicare Advantage, they do have to have an enrollment period to be able to go on to a Medicare Advantage plan. Okay, so there's lots of ways to find Medicare Advantage plan special enrollment periods. But if you come into an issue where you're like, I don't see anything, right? My guy has not come out of jail. He's not just aged in. He's just a normal person who's 60s and wants to join Medicare Advantage plan, but I don't know how to make that happen for them. That's when you call me.
Okay,
Okay, or shoot me a text, even better.
okay,
And I will walk you through some of the tricks I know about Medicare and how to try to find a special enrollment period where you might not see one or might not realize that they're eligible for one.
okay,
Okay,
okay, great, thank you.
sure. Great question, by the way. Okay, what other questions do we have? We got about 25 people on here, so I know there's questions out there.
Hi, Carl. This is Elisa. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm fine. I came in kind of late, and I know you guys were talking about marketing. So, should we be marketing now?
Always, 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 always,
Always.
always, always.
Okay. So we could
And
we could do events at, like senior citizen places and stuff if
you sure
they let
can.
us.
Yeah,
Okay.
you sure can. Matter of fact, since you joined late, I know there was about 5 or 6 of you that joined a little bit late. I don't know why I keep closing that screen. Stop doing that. Inside of our Legacy Benefit Alliance website, right? LBA,
Mm-hmm.
under making the sale, what we did is a very quick version of this PowerPoint. So if you want to get caught up to speed when you have some free time, it's only like 4 or 5 slides.
Okay.
Take a look in there to different places that you should be making relationships with and possibly doing seminars or whatever. But
Okay.
also work with your area managers for your different products that you're contracted with. And
Like United
between
Healthcare
those
or
two things,
something.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So between those two things, between the PowerPoint that I have for you guys that you have access to, and working with your area managers that are for the specific companies, you should be able to drum up plenty of business this time of year.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. That just puts pressure on 23 more of you to ask me a question.
Well, I'm gonna jump in because if nobody else is, but I'm gonna ask you another question, a couple of them. So that flea market thing was me. I do the flea market 4 times a month. And it kind of rolls into the other ones. Like, do you have to register these events that you're just doing this? Should you be registering at least with one carrier, but then you're tied to a carrier? Do you have to register each one of these events?
That's a good question, right? So it's all about intent. So if your intent is just to answer questions, then why would you need to register that?
That's
Especially if you're mixing that with financial products, right?
right.
So I would assume, because we've spoke before, right, that you have a table that's full of stuff, right? Like, hey, I've got annuities, I've got life insurance, I've got Medicare, and I'm here just to let you know that I do all these things. And if you have any questions, you can ask me, right? You can have a big old pin that says, ask me about Medicare, right? Now, if somebody, while you're there, just to answer questions, wants to get into the nitty-gritty, then that's what a scope of appointment is for, right? An immediate scope of appointment. So that gets rid of the need to register that event, right? Now, if you were doing just Medicare, and your intent was to sell, then yes, you would need to register with at least one company, if not more.
Okay.
But
And then
since you're going to do multiple products, I wouldn't register it because your intent is to be a question answerer.
okay, so that rolls into I am doing a senior coffee and donuts. I do that with 3 different facilities. And I just answer questions. Now, my intent is just Medicare. So these all should be registered.
Is your intent to sell anything?
I'm not selling something that day. I am just introducing myself and saying hello and answering any questions.
Okay, same answer then. So
Okay,
unless
perfect.
your intent.
Okay.
So, and this is where it's important to understand the difference between being part of the community, doing an educational event, and doing a marketing event, right? Educational event is like, hey, I'm just teaching people what to do, right? Like, this is how Medicare works. Page 1, right? Marketing is, hey, I've got this Humana product
Right.
that I want to show you, and at the end of it, I want you to sign up for it, right? That's a marketing event. Being part of the community is just being part of the community, right? And so if you're putting your face out there and saying, hey, I am a representative that helps people with Medicare, you don't have to register that, right? I mean, that would be like having to register every business card that you have, right? So that's the difference between what we do. And this is why I teach you guys to kind of go around the backside so you don't have to register as many things, because it's really ridiculous the amount of rules that CMS puts on um, the marketing side of things. So I would rather you guys happen into a sale than register for something and then it's like, oh my goodness, right? Like if I don't go to this, I got to give so many days warning, and then I still have to show up for the first 30 minutes. And, so get around that as much as you can, right? I think you said you had 2 questions. Do you have another one before you want me to jump over to someone else, or?
Well, that was kind of it. It was going over to that coffee and donuts versus, it was kind of the same thing. I just feel like I'm trying to get out in the community, like you said, and having them see my face. We've got about, I don't know, 12, 14 events every month right now. I want to have like 20 a week come October, because they've seen my face. Now I can book the educational events. Now I can book those others starting, during AEP. So and they'll know my face. There's not much, they already know me. They already know me as Bridget. I've come and given them donuts and cake and celebrated their birthday and done bingo with them and all of that. I'm hoping this is how it works. This is my
Gotcha.
thought, right? Process through you
Yeah,
guys.
definitely. And so just to add on to that, like we were talking about earlier, go get some freebie items, right, from the different carriers. And when you do that, don't just set out one company. Like, don't just set out Humana. Don't just set out United. Have an array of stuff that you can give out, right? And so that way people are like, well, Bridget's got Humana and United and Aetna, and oh, she must do everything, right? So definitely have that in mind as well. And that will also keep it away from being a marketing style event. Okay. Okay, Bridget, I'm not gonna mess up your last name, but I see your hands raised. So the other Bridget, go ahead and ask your question. How do you say your last name first?
Shukura.
Chikora.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
thank you. My question might be a little bit challenging, I think, but I am in a place of confusion as to what to do first, second, and last. Um, I got the opportunity to listen about getting involved with the Medicare processing, and I started with the trainings with you. And I followed through to the different other platforms. And it seems to me like every platform has a gazillion requirements and expectations. So I am like, okay, did I bite more than I needed to? Am I actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing? So I don't
Hmm.
know if I'm right in
Okay,
the right spot.
so here, and I'm just speaking for LBA, okay?
Mhm.
What we should see you doing is
Mhm.
obviously registering for our website, which I showed you guys today, right? So you should have
Mhm.
access to that. And then you should be working with Spark. Spark
Correct.
will guide you to AHIP, which you have to have.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
from AHIP, they're going to start carrier contracting you, right? So you're going to sign
Yes.
up for whatever carriers you're going to need
Mhm.
for your area. So let's say you
Okay.
need Humana, United, Aetna, whatever, right? There might be five,
Mhm.
six, seven,
Mhm.
8 carriers.
Mhm.
My suggestion is you can sign up for all of them, and
Okay.
then just get them done at your own pace because, sometimes they can be pretty lengthy and they only
Mhm.
give you a certain amount of tries before they say, well, if you fail this many times, you can't sell for us, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
um, that would be really what you need to do from Spark's perspective, with the exception of one thing. They also have the Sunfire platform, right? So you'll need
Mhm.
to watch a training on that. And really, once you get contracted, once you get a what they call ready to sell status with a
Mhm.
carrier. So I'm going to use Humana as an example. So
Okay.
you go through Humana's training, you take the test at the end. It says, okay, congratulations. You'll be notified within the next 24 to 48 hours that you're ready to sell, right? Then
Okay.
you watch the Sunfire training for the platform. When you go to the platform, and again, I don't train on it, but I know how to use the Sunfire, so I'll just say this.
Mhm.
You can check mark only only the companies you are certified to sell in,
Okay.
right? So as you add companies to that, they will populate in Sunfire for you. So let's say you started with
Okay.
Humana, and then once you're done with Humana, you keep going and you certify with United, then United
Mhm.
will start showing up in the Sunfire platform for you. And then let's say that you wanted Aetna next, right? So you kind of
Okay.
prioritize what's important to you and your clients, and then you just kind of knock them out. Here's the fun part is
Mhm.
that we are in June, right?
Mhm.
Um, if I were you, I would probably only do the top 2 companies right now. Because
Okay.
next month, no, we're in May. I'm sorry, we're in May. We're about to be in June.
Yes.
I might do 3 companies because in July, they're going to require you to start looking at next year, which means that you're going to have to do AHIP. You're going to have to do your
Mm.
certifications and all that stuff for open enrollment that starts in
Mhm.
October because those
Mhm.
plans start for January 1st of 2025.
Fine. Okay.
So if I were new right now, I would probably only do 2, maybe 3 companies and realize and probably find a way to um, keep the information that they're asking you for your
Mhm.
tests, right? Because you're going to get the same versions or something very, very close here in
Similar.
about two
Mhm.
and a half, 3 months, right? So, as you're doing your stuff right now, especially with AHIP, I would definitely take note and try to figure out a way to what's the best way to say this? To know what they're going to ask you in the
Mhm.
upcoming months, right? Because you're going to have to do all this over again so that you're eligible to sell for next year as well. But
Okay. So
don't
let me.
kill yourself trying to get like 18 different carriers
Oh no, no.
between now and July because you'll have to redo the whole thing between now and July.
So then what I wanted to find out also is, I believe it's the AHIP that requires you to pay for a course.
Correct.
And so if I'm going to be paying for the course again in July, August, so that I can be ready to sell, it doesn't make sense to pay for it now then.
Well, that's up to you. I mean, if you have people that need your assistance now, one sale will pay for AHIP, right?
Mhm.
If you don't really plan on putting a lot of effort into making a sale between now and July, then you're kind of just in a holding pattern, right? AHIP probably, if they follow what they did last year, will probably open up mid-July. And if you do the AHIP mid-July, it'll actually cover you for the remainder of this year and next
Mhm.
year. So you could start working with clients as soon as you get your AHIP done, but you'd have to wait until your AHIP is done, no matter what, and then you could start doing your carrier certs. But your carrier certs are going to work against you no matter what. You're going to have to certify for this year and next year if that's your intent. So,
Okay.
but the AHIP you would only have to pay for once if you want to wait until mid-July.
Yeah, the reason I was concerned that is I had to get I'm in California, so I needed to have my health in California before I could sell. So
Mhm.
doing that as well as now getting the AHIP when I'm not sure that the money's gonna even start coming in until October when I can start selling till uh um January. It's like my brain is thinking that's just keeping money in the back burner.
Well, keep in mind, your your hardest time to sell is actually open enrollment because you've got all the big dogs trying to fight for that business, right?
Mhm.
Um, at the beginning of this call, we kind of blew through marketing strategies, right? And
Mhm.
that was so
Mhm.
that people could answer questions now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I think anybody who's been doing this 3, 4, 5 years, they know that they get the majority of their business this time of year because everybody thinks, and I think you might be under the impression that you will only write business during AEP, right?
Mhm.
But the opposite is really true. Like for me as an agent, I
Okay.
write about 150 to 200 apps per AEP, but I write about 3 to 400 outside of AEP. And
Mhm.
it's because everybody else takes this time off. They don't know how to sell during this time. So that's
Okay.
why, and I've done a full training on the marketing, so it's in our video library.
Mhm.
You want
In
to
the
go back to
video.
it. But
Yes.
this is the time of year, especially for newer agents, to kind of get your feet wet. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
um, start working with people, do like what Bridget was talking about. You need to start building your
Mhm.
relationships. And what you'll find is people are weary of any new person at first, right? So
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
about that when you're going into AEP. Um, you don't want to be the new person on the block during AEP, right? You
Okay.
just don't. And then the second thing is you're going to find people that have circumstances that nobody knows how to work with. And I've been doing this quite a while, right? Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
so if you find that somebody needs to make a change or wants to make a change and you can't figure out how to change them into a policy,
Mhm.
um, I make myself available to you, right? Like
Okay. Mhm.
Bridget, we answered your question during this call, right? On what to do with
Mhm.
that client. I've had a lot of people call me, and if you catch me when I can actually answer the phone, that's even better, which that's hard to do. But
Mhm,
if you just shoot me a text and say, hey, look, help, I've got a situation, client wants to
mhm.
enroll, I will usually call you back or text you back within 24 hours, right? So,
Okay.
um, I would say if I was just starting out, if I was in your situation, I know California's got some weird things when it comes to like United Healthcare wants to charge you
Mhm,
for being an agent. I'm not sure about
mhm.
Humana, but they're, look at the free companies maybe, right? Aetna, Cigna.
Okay.
Um, don't worry about Kaiser because they only work with their own agents.
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
But look at the companies that you don't have to pay a fee for right now,
mhm, mhm,
and
mhm,
then just start doing like I've been teaching is going around and start making relationships, right?
okay.
Especially with the 55 and older community, right?
Mhm,
Because starting October 1st, you can start showing plans,
mhm,
right? So that's already a leg up when you have built a relationship with a, let's say, a
mhm,
senior center, right? Or a
mhm,
55 and older living community. You can show plans right there. Now, what's neat is if somebody has a special enrollment period, you can write them
mhm.
October 1st and get paid November and not have to wait to get paid till January,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Okay.
Also, when you're in July and you're starting to make those relationships, right? Or if you're starting to do
Mhm,
volunteer work, like that's probably what I would recommend you do now, is volunteer at
okay.
soup kitchens and volunteer at senior centers and say, hey, look, I'm in the Medicare business. I know this is a period of time, but I've got some extra time on my hands, maybe an hour a week or a couple hours a month that I could come in and help you guys out. But also kind of want to let you guys know what I do. Maybe I can help out with bingo, or maybe I can help out serving food during lunch, a couple times a month or something. And people will start to ask you, well, what are you doing here? You could say, well, I work with Medicare and I just wanted you guys to kind of know who I am and be here if you have any questions, right? Um,
Okay.
you're going to fall into some sales, right? And like I
Okay.
said, one sale alone pays for the AHIP, right?
Mhm.
But how nice would it be in California? I think you guys get what, 700 and something for a new to Medicare, and only paying 125 for AHIP. That's a pretty
Mhm.
good, that's a pretty good return, right? And if you fall into 5 or 6 of those, well, I don't know. I'd rather do that than not do that.
Okay.
Does that make
Thank you so
sense?
much for your help. Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. What other questions we have? We got a couple minutes here. I'll keep open for questions. I tell you what, I'm gonna start picking on people. Ronnie, you good? Any
I'm
questions?
good.
You sure?
I'm learning a lot from you. That's
You
why I
still
don't.
writing? You still writing 10 people a day?
Not at this time, but I have people who are calling me and preparing for before getting into age 65. So
Good,
I have some people
good,
who are in the military, some are retiring. So yeah.
good, good. We'll have to do a TRICARE for life. Um,
Mhm.
I'm gonna write that down, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I had one for those. One person for the. I think it's something like VA, and there are three militaries that's going to retire soon. So they're going to be next, and I'm very careful with that because you know why? If I make a mistake, they might lose all their military benefits.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll do a training specific to that. Probably not over the next couple weeks, but soon. But okay, good deal. Let's see. I talked to Bridget Morgan. I talked to Tuma. I talked to the other Bridget, Lisa. I talked to Angela Harding. Talk to me. Zoe, everything okay over there in Texas?
Yeah, we're doing okay over here. Thank you
Okay.
for asking. Yes, thanks so much.
Any questions for me today?
Um, no, I was gonna meet with a lady today, but she came down not feeling good. She went to the doctor, had all the medication. She had just said she wants to change to United Healthcare because of the little button, you know, the
Hmm.
per that little uh, thing that you help you with emergency response, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's what I could find in this area. And so I'm pretty excited. She was going to come to my house, and I like to have people come in person instead of just on the phone, especially now she's not
Sure.
feeling well. I don't want to. I just want to let her get stuff feeling better. And anyway, so things are working out real good for me. Thank you.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. Kamisha Jones. Talk to me.
Hey, how are you? I'm here.
I'm fine.
Thanks for the
Question?
training. I am new and I'm listening and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. But I did want to clarify. You said because I need to take the AHIP, but you said if I take it in July, then I will not have to retake it and it will still allow me to use it in the remainder of 2024 as well.
Yeah, so what'll end up happening is they're going to release the AHIP for 2025, right? And that will happen. There'll be an announcement. As soon as I get it, I will try to push it out through Mike, who is the one who sends all you guys the emails of when I'm doing my training.
Okay.
So make sure you're registered with the LBA website at a minimum, so you'll get that email, right?
Okay.
But it should be, I think they did it as early as the 14th of last year. The year before that, it was the 29th of July. So it's usually in the month of July. We just don't know when, until AHIP says, okay, here it is, right?
Okay.
But yes, if you do the 2025 AHIP, for your first year, they will go ahead and allow you to write the remaining part of the current year. So if you want to wait until that time, you can do that. Like I said, if you decide, hey, you know what, I think I could actually help some people before then, one sale pays for it. It doesn't matter where you live. I mean, even in the lowest paying place, which is where I live, one sale still pays for my AHIP. So it's up to you when you do it.
Okay.
But I've been doing this for a long time. So I usually say it depends on your schedule and what you have going on. But if Medicare is going to be your main meat and potatoes, which it is for a lot of folks, I would start sooner than later. If you have other stuff to feed you, then
Okay.
maybe let that feed you until July, and then you can start getting really serious. But I would start the marketing practices prior to
Before. Okay.
July, right? And then if you might find yourself in a situation like this, June 10th, somebody says, hey, you answered some questions for me, and I see you've been volunteering. I'd really like to sit down with you and talk about a product. Now you're in a little bit of a bind, right? Because you're not AHIP certified, which means that you can't be carrier certified, which means that you can't really show them any products, right? But the good news is you can get through all that in a couple of days. So you can say, okay, I'll tell you what, let me schedule you a time
Okay.
to meet later in the month, let's say toward the end of the month, when I have more time to sit down with you, and we can make this a one-on-one appointment. How's that sound? And then you
Okay.
get your AHIP done, you do your
Right.
carrier training, and you pay your $125, and you're going to have to pay it again, but the one sale is going to make up for it anyway. So you come out good, right?
Okay. Okay. That sounds probably about how I'll do it. Cause yeah, I do currently have a full-time job. So
Okay.
I'm trying to prep myself to transition within the next year out. So yeah. Okay.
Gotcha. Listen, I
Uh,
have trained all types of people who have come in at all times of the year. And actually, my favorite people come in April, right? Which was last month.
Oh,
And we get them to do their Medicare, AHIP, all their certifications and all that stuff. And I get them to start making relationships because they're going to fall into sales, right? If they do what I tell them.
okay.
And truth be told, I have only in my entire career gone on one ride along with any of my agents. And all the people that I have trained to do Medicare, I'll say prior to LBA, I'm pretty sure at least 95% of them are still doing it. And some
Okay.
of them from other companies have even broken off to become their own agencies. And I know this to be true because one of them called me 2 days ago asking me for some advice. So I would take this time to do your best to start forging relationships, maybe making business cards and flyers and things like that.
So can
But
I
on
make the
on
business card before the AHIP or no?
well, what are you going to put on a business card?
I mean, I don't know. It's just I was reading a bunch of you have to have this on it or you can't say this. You can. I'm like, well, I didn't know.
mhm.
Well, you don't want to say that you're a um, uh, person who works for Medicare, right?
Okay.
Because you don't.
Right.
But you can say you're an insurance specialist,
Okay.
right?
Okay,
Because you do
gotcha.
life insurance too,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes. Yes.
So you can put down life, health, Medicare. And if they need Medicare, then just, push them off a week or two and get your
Okay.
AHIP done and get your other stuff done, and then you're good to go.
Okay. All right. Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
So I've got another question. It's
Okay.
Toma.
Okay.
You know how when you get your life insurance, you become a life insurance agent and you register in different states?
Mhm.
Now with Medicare, how do you go about registering for different states?
Okay. So with Medicare, all you have to do is you have to have your non-residents for your other states. And then when you're doing your certifications, right? As long as your non-residence is active, I'll use United Healthcare as an example. You know how you have to click, I think it's United, maybe it's Aetna, I don't know, one of them. You have to click the area that you sell in, right? And it gives you
Mhm.
specific stuff for that area. You need to do that for every state that you're going to write business in. So for example, if you write business in Florida, Georgia, Nevada, Texas, right? You need to do the individual training portion for the product specifics for all of those states.
Okay.
Either that or call the individual carriers and say, hey, look, I'm licensed in all these states. I have my non-residents up. I'm going to do my Medicare training. What do I need to do specifically to make sure that I'm able to write in all these states? And they'll go over that with you specifically. But normally what I
So who
find
am
is
I?
I just
Okay.
go through the training for each of the specific states and then it's automatically done.
Okay, so being a life insurance agent, I register with Rhode Island, Georgia, which is my home state, in Texas. So if I wanted to sell Medicare in, let's say Rhode Island, how, what
So,
do I
yeah,
do?
so go to NIPR, get a non-resident license for Rhode Island,
Go
right?
to
Which
who?
just means that you've got to pay whatever the fee is. And then in about 2 days, you'll be licensed to sell in Rhode Island. And then whatever carrier or carriers you're going to represent in Rhode Island, if you're already contracted, the best thing to do is just call the carrier and say, hey, I want to add Rhode Island to my portfolio because I have clients up there that need my help. They'll tell you exactly what you do, right? They might need you to go into the training module like you did when you first contracted with them, and click on that state and do the state specific training, and then you're done. Some companies just say, all you gotta do is call us and let us know to add it, and you're good to go, because all of our training is the same for all states. So it just depends on the carrier. So my recommendation would be just call the carrier and find out what they want you to do.
Okay.
But just get your non-residents with NIPR and then go from there. Just call the carrier specifically.
NIPR. Is that
NIPR.
NAPA?
NIPR.
NIPR.
Oh, NIPR. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And some states have it kind of weird. So you got to make sure you have like, what's a weird one? Like North Carolina, I think is weird. It's like accident and health, but you need the health part of it. Whatever health is, that's what you need for Medicare. Okay.
Okay, so if you're in Georgia and you have life and health, you did the
Then you're good.
test for life and health, then you good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you're just doing a non-residence through NIPR, and you can do it for life and health, or you can do it for just health. Just keep in mind that the more things that you click when you're going through NIPR, the more they're going to charge you. So if you're not going to do life and you're only focusing on Medicare in Rhode Island, just click the health part, right? Don't
Okay.
click 15 different buttons, because then you're going to go from
Got to.
only paying like $40 to like $400. You don't want to do that.
All right. Okay. Okay, great.
All right,
Thanks.
I reckon I can jump on now. This is Angela.
Hey, Angela, you got any questions for us today?
Okay, I have one question. Let's say I am AHIP certified, but I don't want to do individual sale. I refer them through Legacy.
You do what now?
If I refer my clients,
Okay.
I just want to be a referral agent.
Well,
Even
then
though
you
I'm
don't
AHIP
even need your
certified.
AHIP going forward if that's what you plan to do.
No, I did my AHIP last year.
Understood. I'm
In
just telling you,
August.
if you're going to be a referral only agent, Medicare is not like life. You cannot split the sale. Okay, so you don't need to be AHIP certified if you're going to just refer the business. The referral platform that we have, I forget the name of it, but it goes through TKT and then it goes back out through agents, right? To do that, you don't even have to be licensed for life. You don't have to have any license. It's just a referral. And what happens is when the client is sold by a licensed agent through LBA, then that agent will cut you back $100, right? Or whatever the
Okay.
fee. I forget what the referral fee is. But if that's your intent, then yeah, you don't have to join any of these calls. You don't have to be AHIP certified. You don't have to do any of the certifications. You could just say, hey, click this little thing. It'll get all the information, or you can fill it out for them. And then once it's sold, that person will have your information and know who to send that that referral fee too,
And this goes for any state?
any state.
Great. All right,
Is
but
that
I
all the
enjoyed
questions
the
you had for me?
training. That's it.
Okay.
But I enjoy your training.
I have a
Thank you.
question. Hi,
All
Carl.
right. Hey, Tuma. Tuma, right?
This
No,
is
Sarah Jane.
Jane. Yeah. Okay, just before I ask my question, referring to what the question I was asked. So the agent, is it the agent who pays that referral partner from what they get?
Yes.
Okay,
And you know why you do that?
no,
Because you get to keep the renewals. So you're paying at worst half of what that sale's worth for the first year. And then from there, you're going to keep the renewals going forward. So as a renewal, as a referring partner, which I don't recommend, but as a referring partner, it's kind of like a thank you, right? Pretty nice thank you. But you get to keep the business from that point forward.
yeah. So is there a state, specific amount that you're gonna give, or you just decide what to
That
put there?
yeah, so that's all through the website. I don't deal with that website
I
either.
think I heard like
Um,
$100.
that it's in the new agent guide. So go back to the LBA website
Mm-hmm.
on the far right side, which I forget what that's called. I think it's building your business or something like that, is the new agent guide. It's inside there. So
Okay.
just go ahead and take a look at that website because it'll be in the new agent guide
Mm-hmm.
and you can take a look at that.
Okay.
But I don't do anything with that either. I train you guys how to sell and how to give business away.
Okay. So I'm in Ohio, and can you help me to know who my broker manager is for Humana?
Do I know who it is?
Can you help me to, how do I know?
Yeah, you call 1-800-Humana. Or go to Humana's website, right?
Mm-hmm.
Click the agent button, right? There'll be like a sign-in button, and there'll be a number, it's like a 309 number that you can call.
Mm-hmm.
That's for agents, right? So call that number and say, hey, I'm a licensed agent. I'm trying to find out who is the area manager for Ohio. And they're going to say, okay, well, what county? And you're going to say, shit, I don't know.
Franklin County.
You got to know where you want in Ohio, right? Because it'll be broken down by at least sectors, if not county specific. It depends on what the population of Medicare clients is out in that area, but you have to know kind of where you're talking about when you call out there. But no, I don't know all the broker managers. There are probably, you have to think of it this way, there are 50 states, and I'll just give you Florida as an example. For one company, there's probably 12 to 20 agent managers for the whole state of Florida just for one company. So if you multiply that times 50, that's a lot of people. So no, I don't know who Ohio guy is for Humana. But I can get it. I can call you Humana just like you could and find out who it is as long as I know what the territory is looking like the city of whatever, right? I can look up in Google what county is the city of Cleveland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll tell me the county. And so when I call Humana, I can say, hey, look, I'm looking for the broker manager for the I don't know, the boys
For Franklin County.
county in Ohio. Can you tell me who that is? And they'll give it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you give us your number again? I thought I had it, but I don't. Please.
I thought I was going to get through one training without putting it in there, but nope,
Sorry,
didn't make it.
didn't make it. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to pick on one more person, And then we're gonna
Thank
wrap
you.
this up because we're going a little bit past time today. So Vivian, are you on today?
Oh, Carl, you had to call me out, didn't you?
Of course, you know I would, girl.
You know, I would love to be on camera, but I have 3 grandbabies right now. So if you do hear some screaming, please ignore that background noise.
You don't want to
But
show the grandbabies?
what's that?
You don't want to show the grandbabies?
Oh my gosh, I don't want to show grandbabies on my face right now because 3 of them all by myself has been a little grandma challenge, but it's all good. It's worth it. So I
Okay.
have a set of twins. They're 3 years old and a 9-month-old baby here that are keeping me busy.
I bet.
So,
Okay, tell me
but I
about your
did
questions. I know you've got at least
I
one.
yeah, one of the things too, I was looking at it because I went into the agent guide and I was starting to do the contracting, but then I stopped because I realized I still, besides the AHIP, I still need to do I need to do 2 more certifications, but I'm not sure if I could still finish my contracting, then finish the FWA or something like that, and the discriminating or discrimination training, something like that.
Okay, so AHIP is broken up into 3 tests, right? So
Okay.
the big important one is AHIP, right?
Yes. Yes.
That one you have a time requirement and you have to have 90 or above. The
Yes.
FWA and the non-discrimination, they're really easy. Actually, you can Google their answers. So don't think too hard about the AHIP part of that, because it is all tied into the AHIP. But the FWA and the non-discrimination disclosure,
No.
whatever,
Yeah.
those 2 are very easy.
Okay, so should I finish doing my contracting while I'm still working on the non-discrimination and the FWA certificates?
Well, you can't because the way they have done it now, because those are tied in to the AHIP, you will not get your AHIP certificate
Oh, got it.
until they're done. So
Okay.
you have to complete all of that before you go into contracting.
Got it. And then I have to repeat it all over again in July, right?
Yes.
Well, I better take good notes.
There you go. Download the slides so you'll know.
Okay, I think I'll finish that. And then the information was great just because I just realized you said if you're gonna redo everything in July, just get a couple companies to get you going so you could get the understanding of it
Yeah,
and
the
start
top 2
promoting
companies
yourself.
right now, I would say, are United Healthcare and Humana, right?
United and Humana.
Those are the ones that I always start people on because they have the largest populations. Now, for next year, you'll have your feet wet, right? You'll kind of know how those products work. So you want to start adding from there. So when you do your AHIP in July, then when you do your contracting, because you'll have to do a little bit more contracting, you won't have to recontract with the companies, but you will have to do your certifications for the ones that you have. So that's 2 certifications that you have to redo. But then you can start adding the other companies at that point. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
one other question, if I heard you right, because I'm sorry, these kids are being loud. Give me 1 second. Besides not having too many companies on your books yet, but how about when it comes to states? Should I keep it limited, but still promote myself? Like I have 3 states right now that I'm more kind of looking into.
So only because I know what we spoke about, right?
Right.
I probably would wait for those states until you can do your AHIP in July, to start
Okay.
promoting yourself in those areas.
Okay.
But do your traveling if you can prior to that, because here's the thing, right? There are a lot of people that do Medicare. A lot. You'd be surprised. So how do you become the person that they want to work with is the big question. And the answer is you have to become somebody that is on their mind that does Medicare, right? So that's why I say it doesn't hurt to volunteer to do stuff. It's good things to do like bingo and food drives and all that stuff, because that puts your face as somebody that they recognize. And in general, what I've found is you're going to have conversations with people, right? Like people who are 65 and above like to talk, right? They a lot of their friend groups have shrunk, let's just say that. And so what we're doing is we're becoming more of a piece of their life, and that's good. And you have to look at it like you're more than just an agent to them, because that's probably what they're doing. And the person that they like the most is who they're going to sign up with, right? So, or the
Yeah.
one they're most familiar with. And so that's what you have to keep in mind. So with you having, multiple areas, if you really want to get the most out of that situation, you have to find a way to become somebody that they feel like they can always get a hold of, that they can trust, and that is there not just for the money. I mean, everybody knows you get paid to help people with their Medicare decisions, right? But why should they choose you, right? And that's really what I try to train is, why should they use you instead of just how to sell the products.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to the question of, I know we're dealing with a different kind of group of individuals and stuff, depending on what everybody's concentration that they have. I know Bridget said something that, and other ladies here, they're talking about how they go to events so they could personally see the individual or build the relationship. My question is, has anyone in this group here do like Zoom or anything with them? Or is that, what do you guys think of that? Or Carl, what do you suggest on that? If they
Well,
know, yes. If they don't, good luck.
we've had people get sales from Zoom. I would say this, if COVID had not struck and changed the way that Medicare was done, I would highly recommend staying away from platforms like Zoom. Matter of fact, I would almost, in 95% of your sales opportunities, they should be knee to knee, right? In person, you're sitting at a table with them. Zoom has changed that a little bit, but keep in mind the demographic that we reach out to hasn't, right? There might be a portion of people, like my mother and father-in-law, right? They don't really like having people in their home, and if they meet with somebody, they're probably wearing masks. That might be a good client for Zoom, right? But doing the presentation over Zoom is definitely more challenging, right? So, my thoughts on Zoom. I think it's still a viable option to be able to sell, but I think you're going to have the most success face to face.
Face to face. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure or filter each individual, I guess, as we build the business.
Yeah, and if you're going into, so like we were talking about earlier today, going into 55 and older communities, right? Now, face-to-face might be you have done a page one presentation for an entire group of 25 or 50 people, right? But then you follow that up with 15 or 20 sales immediately following that, right? So definitely have the benefits of doing that. If you do a Zoom call for educational seminar, when you shut that Zoom off, guess what? You have lost contact with that person. They have questions. They may or may not ask it, right? And you may or may not get the opportunity to sign up for, or get them to sign up for something. So I think you'll still find that for probably the next 10 years or so, the demographics of 65 and above, even though they are computer savvy or getting more computer savvy, they still prefer the one-on-one interaction.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay.
But don't you think that would be difficult even if you have to meet with people in other state? Because it means that you're going to be flying from state to state.
Well, I'll say this. It depends on how deep you want to get in the business, right?
Mhm.
I live in Florida. For October 1st through December 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. I have been known to rent an apartment in an area where I know I'm going to get the most business. The year before I deployed, which would have been 2020, I did that. I went to Birmingham, Alabama, and I wrote my 200 policies like I normally do. And I got to see my wife on Thanksgiving 4 days, because nobody wants to meet you during those 4 days. And then after December 7th.
You went back.
But I wrote 200 policies. So it depends on how much effort you want to do in your business, right? Now, am I gonna tell you to hop on a plane to go from Georgia to Texas for one sale? Probably not. Just the cost of the flight alone is going to make that not make sense. But just keep in mind that the preference of the people that we work with in Medicare is going to be face-to-face. So will Zoom be effective? Yes, for some clients. Is it more difficult to really do what we do via Zoom? A little bit. But the pages are what they are, right? So you can pre-fill pages 1 through 4 with their information once you have it. So you have to almost do like 2 calls with them, like a informational call, and then create their pages 1 through 4 based on their personal information so that it makes more sense for them, and then send that to them so that it becomes the most effective way to do it with them. If you don't do it like that, then you're just like every other agent, unless you already have a pre-built relationship with them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not telling you not to work with people in other states. What I'm saying is do it smartly so that you become somebody that if there's an issue that they call. Because the worst thing that you can do is write somebody on a policy and then next year they're not your client anymore. You don't know why, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally makes sense. Well, like also, the conversation we had, I know I'm in a couple different states quite often, and knowing that companies give you the information depending on where you're at, I think that's totally helpful. And baby, Papa, shh. I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. Darn it.
Companies give information based on where you are. That's helpful.
What's that?
You said companies give information based on where you are, and that's helpful.
Yes. Anyways, I think I just have to plan it out and get my stuff done, but I'm looking forward to it to learn more. And I'll definitely be on trainings and listen to, questions. I think it helps a lot, especially for individuals that have been doing this business for quite some time. We can learn from each other. So thank you, Carl. Thank you, everybody, for the questions and stuff. I know it helps me a lot. And we'll be probably chatting later on and learning more.
Awesome. Well, and we're going to wrap up here because we're a little bit past an hour and a half, which our trainings are only supposed to be an hour. I have the whole video library, what we did last year before open enrollment to get people geared up to sell. So if you are at the stages where you're doing AHIP, you're getting certified, you're getting to, hey, I want to jump out there and get going. Jump into those videos. You don't have to wait for our weekly calls, right? That stuff is there for you so that you guys can go ahead and learn and get ready and get on point to be able to help people immediately. If you fall in those categories, like a couple of you that I talked to, where you're kind of on the fence, like, should I wait to July or should I go ahead and do it now? You can watch those videos, right? There's nothing stopping you. You don't have to be AHIP certified to do that. Learn the business before you go out and do it, right? So that's my recommendation. Jump into those videos, understand what's going on, especially pages 1 through 4, because I think most people, once you understand pages 1 through 4, you understand the majority of what we're trying to do, right? And if you have a question about a specific category of people, we've got videos on that. Marketing practices. I mean, I think I've put a video out there on every subject that is really relevant to open enrollment and really this time of year. So you guys can get yourselves into a really good place. Now, will it take some time? Yeah, my videos are, except for the 4 quick ones that I did, those combined will take you about 35-40 minutes, right? Pages 1 through 4, the quick versions, right? But the other ones are an hour a piece. So if you're not busy and you've got time where you're like, hey, I could watch a movie or I could learn this business, throw on one of those hour-long Zoom calls, right? Where people are asking questions, or we're doing something where I'm doing like a training with somebody, like I'm going through pages 1 through 4 with a client or a role play, and learn how we do this, right? But don't wait for the week-to-week calls, because we're getting to the point where when July starts kicking in, everybody's going to be wanting to do their certs. So I might just say, hey, you know what? We're not going to do a lot of training in July because I don't want to take away or put an extra burden on you guys for an hour, when that hour could be set doing 2 or 3 different companies worth of certifications, right? So look at the videos is what I'm really getting at. Outside of that, if you need me, my number's up there in the chat. And oh, look at that cute little there.
This is great motivation to stay
You
busy,
made the
be
video
busy.
today.
Huh?
See, he's smiling. You made the video today. Good job.
Oh yeah, he's happy. They're my motivation. Let me tell you, they do take energy, but it's worth everything we do for other people. It pays off because then the kids are the ones that reap the benefits, right? Elisa, you know
Absolutely.
what I'm talking about.
There you go.
You say bye.
All right, everybody, we're going to wrap up. Hopefully you got a lot out of this training, and if you didn't, shame on me. But if you didn't, go watch the videos, and if you don't do that, shame on you. So we'll say thanks everybody for being on today. Sorry it went so long, but I'm glad that we got a lot of answers to the questions that you guys had, and we'll have something good for next week as well. So until then, hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you then.